A new, terrifying original, The Cursed, by CJ Quinn. Nature, truly an undermined beauty, as the tall Gothic trees swayed from side to side, as if dancing in the wind, as the last embers of light pierced the soils beneath. Silence engulfed the darkening chambers that lay beneath the treetops, sheltering the empty paths that spread throughout the vast wilderness. Footsteps broke the silence as a lone figure emerged hiking through the forest, camera strapped to his shoulder as he knelt down looking through the artificial eye, capturing the beauty of the last rays of sunset seeping through the trees before it was due to be taken by the darkness that lay in wait. The leaves drifted down from the canopy, flashing him with rays of greens, oranges, yellows, and a whole universe of colors. Not wishing to forget the moment, his finger pressed the trigger to forever freeze this moment in place. Click after click, the shutter froze nature in time. Alex, looking down at his work, skipping through the images he had just taken, studying them, making sure they were perfect for his upcoming project. The haven of both color and beauty captured put a smile on his face. Seemingly happy with his work, he got to his feet, clutching the camera to his chest as he soaked in his surroundings one last time, as dusk began to settle. Seeing the beauty that lay ahead, he shouldered his camera one last time, focusing through the lens as if spying on his prey, looking for one more perfect shot. It was then, in the near distance, the sound of rustling pricked up his ears, his eye breaking from the lens and focusing on the environment around him, searching for the sound that had broken the tranquil silence of the forest. Again, silence fell. Alex's eyes scanning the wilderness around him, trying to pinpoint the location that had disturbed him. The silence coming to an end and broken by another short burst of rustling in the near distance. Alex's eyes finally locked onto where the noise was coming from. It seemed to be moving around him, as if watching him, as if preying on him. Shouldering his camera, Alex was curious to see what it was. Slowly stepped toward the sound of the rustling foliage. The darkness, now starting to engulf his surroundings and stripping away the autumn colors that enclosed him, making it difficult to see what it was that lay before him. Maybe a raccoon or a bobcat, slowly crept over to take a closer look. The rustling, continuing its pattern of stopping and starting in short bursts, had Alex intrigued to see what it was. Now meters away, he stopped, not wanting to spook whatever was hidden, raising his camera to his face, his eye focusing through the scope, looking for that perfect shot, now locked in on its target. As his finger hovered over the button, pressing down, Alex took his shot as the camera's flash burst light into the immediate area. To Alex's surprise, sending the rustling foliage into a frenzy, as whatever was hidden beneath broke out into a sprint, yelping into the distance of the tree lining. Unable to make out what it actually was, Alex jumped back in shock, crashing to the dirt-ridden earth beneath him. It was much bigger than what he thought. It was no raccoon, no bobcat, but something more human-like. His heart racing, he pulled himself to his feet, reaching for his camera as he searched for the last picture taken. "What the fuck?" Alex muttered aloud. Blurry and distorted, he studied the image. The flash had caught whatever it was running into the distance. Even though he was still unable to make out what it was, he could clearly see it was a human-like figure captured in the image. The pale complexion of the skin and what seemed to be the glowing reflection of an eye caught by the flash, as whatever it was ran into the distance. Freaked out, Alex looked ahead between the trees where it had run off, darkness completely consuming the area now, as moonlight slowly began to creep its way into the forest. "Time to go, fuck this," Alex said to himself as he turned his back, taking one step before again stopping in his tracks. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath in, sighing loudly as he exhaled. "Okay, no, let's Let's see what it is, he said, toying with his thoughts. Too curious and invested into what it was now, he gripped his camera, turning back around, staring into the darkness that lay before him, the whistling of the wind filtering through the Gothic trees, as if playing a tune to his ears. Taking a deep breath, Alex crept into the darkest chamber of the forest, setting out to uncover whatever it was that had graced the image on his camera. The darkness of night had truly consumed the forest, lit up only by the glowing moonlight, causing the silhouette of branches to dance in its glow. Along with the night sky, a coldness filled the ever-changing environment, bringing a chill to Alex as he followed the trail of the mysterious thing that had crossed his path. The further he walked into the depths of the forest, the colder it became. Looking at his surroundings, it all looked the same, as if shadows were dancing between the trees, the whistling of wind sounding like cries traveling through its dark chambers. Beginning to feel that whatever it was that he saw was probably long gone, and not wanting to find himself lost, the thought of home seemed the more sensible option to Alex now. As fast as that thought had entered his mind, it was soon snatched away by the sound of what seemed to be wailing in the near distance. Alex's eyes locked on to the tree lining where the sound was emerging, his pulse racing as a sense of anxiety spread through his body. Clenching his camera, step by step, he edged closer to the tree lining, trying to remain quiet, but nature had other plans, as the crunching leaves beneath his feet echoed into the night, making his presence well known. The wailing sound fading into the night as it again fell silent. As Alex reached the dark abyss of the tree lining, he stopped in his tracks as his eyes widened. What lay before him, beyond the darkness, was a vast open clearing, surrounded by the Gothic trees that had created a circular space with one gigantic, battered tree situated in the dead center of its circled ground, lit up by the cold moonlight. It was unlike any of the other trees that surrounded it, unlike any tree Alex had ever seen before. "Wow, this is amazing," he whispered. Stunned by what lay ahead of him, Alex stepped out of the darkness and into the new surroundings he had discovered, once again readying his camera as if forgetting why he were there in the first place. The concentration etched onto his face like an artist mastering his craft as he searched for the perfect shot, the camera flash lighting up the mountain of trees that lay before him. Lowering his camera, it was then Alex became fascinated by the tree and its unusual features. Closing in for a better look, he studied the broken bark of the tree, looking up at its twisting shape that spiraled high into the air, towering over him, leading to its overgrown branches that looked like giant claws in the night sky. The more he looked, the more he noticed as he circled the tree. The strange carvings etched into the bark of the tree looked like battle scars. As he circled to the other side of the tree, his eyes widened as to his amazement. At the base of the tree, it split into two, creating an opening consumed by darkness. Laden in cobwebs, sap drooling down the sides where the tree split into two. Needing to get a picture of this mysterious find, Alex readied his camera, leaning closer. His finger placed on the trigger, ready to take his shot, suddenly released as he lowered the camera from his eye, squinting with intent and focus as something had caught his eye. Peering closer, what lay in the darkness of the opening looked to be a dark layer of fur moving slightly between the barked archway. But the layer of darkness that lay between Alex and what he could see obscured his view. Whatever it was, it seemed to be moving ever so slightly. Wanting to know what it was, Alex reached out his hand as it traveled towards the dark opening. Inches away from it, the dark abyss stared back at Alex. His hand stopped as his fingers shook, pulling his hand back, having second thoughts. He knew better than to stick his hand into a strange dark hole submerged to the bottom of a tree, fixated on the fur-like object that seemed to move like what could only be described as a chest breathing. Instead, Alex lifted his camera, holding it in front of him, aiming it into the darkness. His heart beating louder with a sense of nervousness flooding through him. The sound of the camera charging broke the silence as his finger hit the trigger, the flash lighting up the opening to a harrowing roar. And to Alex's horror, the terrifying sight of a demonic, yellow-eyed beast staring back at him with a ferocious glare. Falling back, scrambling in utter fear, Alex turned to run, but was soon overcome by an excruciating pain in the calf of his leg. Screaming in agony, Alex looked back to see the sight of a beastly, hairy arm emerging from the darkness of the opening as the beastly hand gripped his leg like a bear trap. The razor-sharp black nails piercing his skin as blood oozed from the open wounds. Alex, trying to yank his leg free, but the power of the beast was too strong as it dragged him closer to its dark lair. "No, no!" Alex screamed as he dug his hands into the soil, trying to drag himself free. The darkness closing in on him as his legs were now inside the tree. Fear surging through his body, he reached for his camera with an outstretched hand, his fingers barely reaching the strap. Finally managing to hook one finger through, he pulled his camera towards him. Half his body swamped inside the darkness of the tree as he kicked his legs, fighting for his life. The claws of the beast reaching back out as the razor-sharp nails dug deep into his chest, slashing at his shirt. Alex let out an agonizing scream as he bashed the camera into the beastly arm, causing it to retreat back into the darkness of the tree, wiggling the majority of his body free. His leg was still trapped. Thinking this was his only shot, he sat up, stretching his hand right into the hole as he pressed the trigger of the camera flash, lighting up the tree, startling the beast as its grip let go of his leg, finally able to detach the beast from himself. Wasting no time, Alex scrambled away from the opening and to his feet, running back the way he came, adrenaline masking the pain of his open wounds. As he sprinted for the tree lining, he turned his head to take a quick glance back. Through the moonlit night, he was able to make out the yellow eyes and the shadow of a tall, bulky figure slowly emerging from the tree. Not wanting to waste any time, Alex sprinted back to the tree lining, leaving behind the beastly creature that had nearly dragged him into the dark abyss that he could only imagine would have been to his agonizing death. Heavy pounding footsteps trudged through the tainted soil as a sweat and blood-soaked Alex stumbling his way through the ever-changing chambers of the forest, looking behind him, praying that the feral beast was not gaining on him. The pain surging through his body, making it difficult to keep up a fast pace, his right calf feeling like it was about to fall off with every step he took, his heart pounding out of his chest as his breaths got heavier and heavier. His mind on one thing only, getting to safety and out of this nightmare for good. Dragging his beaten body through the swaying trees, Alex could see in the distance a clearing back to some sort of civilization. In his condition, it still seemed like an eternity away, but his way out was in his sights, his steps becoming slower and slower. His breathing increased, as if he couldn't get enough air into his lungs. His vision starting to become blurry as his pace slowed, his exit in front of him seemingly getting further away. Clenching his slashed chest, he stumbled to the soil, trying to catch his breath. The hairs on the back of his neck stood to attention as the terrifying sounds of gaining footsteps crept up behind him. Turning his head slowly, Alex faced the darkness of the forest, battling to focus his eyes, feeling with every second he was about to pass out. The blurred, swaying trees all seemingly multiplying as his vision became obscured. The sound of his pounding heart echoing in his ears like a beating drum. Fear filling his veins as he struggled to focus his vision on the cursed yellow eyes that slowly approached him. It had found him, the eyes multiplying as his head spun. Alex turned as his body crumpled to the earth beneath him, his hands digging into the soil as he tried to drag himself out of this nightmare. But it was too late. His eyes began to close as his obscured vision faded to darkness. All he could hear was the footsteps of the beast standing over him, and the harrowing sound of heavy breaths and grunts over him as whatever it was sniffed his battered body and soul. Managing one last glance, his face peeled from the dirt-ridden floor to see the yellow eyes staring deep into his, before his thoughts disappeared, accepting his fate as everything faded to black. The sound of a creature's roar cried out into the darkness of the deep blue moonlit night before fading into whispers. The sound of raindrops battering into the soiled earth traveled through the forest as the heavens poured down through the rumbling clouds that graced the swirling gray sky above. The raindrops merged as they traveled like a miniature river through the soaked mud. "Do you think he's dead?" an unknown voice whispered. A man and his daughter stood looking down at what seemed like the lifeless body of Alex. The man, kneeling beside Alex, reached out a shaky hand as he rocked Alex's body side to side before looking back at his daughter. "I think..." The man was suddenly cut off by the sudden gasping of life as Alex grabbed the man's arm as he awoke from his slumber. The man's daughter screaming in fright. "Help me! Where is it? Where am I?" Alex blurted out. "Whoa, settle down, son. You're okay. There's nothing here," the man said in shock, holding Alex back. "You got a nasty wound there. Were you out hunting when we saw you lying here? What happened?" the man questioned. Alex looked around. He wasn't where he last remembered, where he had been in the clutches of the beast. He was, in fact, at the entrance of the forest, looking down, his camera with him. He looked back at the concerned father and daughter. He clutched his splitting head. "Can you please take me back to town?" he mumbled, not quite knowing what happened, how he had gotten to the entrance of the forest, or even knowing how he was still alive, for that matter. "Oh, of course. Were you attacked? There's bears out there, you know. You'd be lucky to be alive if you came across a grizzly," the man stated, helping Alex to his feet. No bear. Alex stopped mid-sentence before thinking about what he was about to say. A beast with yellow eyes. Saying it in his head, he couldn't bring himself to say it to the stranger, not wanting to sound crazy. I don't know what attacked me," Alex said, knowing in his head what he saw was real. "Well, you're lucky it wasn't a grizzly, and you're okay, son. We'll get you back to town, and you can get that nasty wound patched up," the man said, ushering his daughter to head over to his truck as he guided Alex along. Alex, clutching his chest, looked back at the forest one last time. How long had he been there? He didn't know. Scared and confused, he looked back at the forest one more time, those yellow eyes imprinted in his mind. The sound of the subway was alive as graffitied cart after graffitied cart rolled its way through the station as it passed the platform back into the arteries of the underground. The silence returning to the station as a hooded figure stumbled onto the desolate platform. Alex slumped up the wall as he removed his hood. Another day at the hospital, trying to figure out what that feeling was inside of him. Looking like he hadn't slept for a week, he rubbed his scarred chest, feeling like it was on fire. The nightmares of that night and the demonic yellow eyes plaguing his mind, and the question of why it hadn't killed him, eating away at him. He pulled a photo from his jacket, the image of the obscured figure, obsessed with it, still searching for answers as to what it was. A beam of light slowing as the sound of metal screeching towards the platform. As the platinum carts rolled in, grinded to a halt, the doors releasing as they opened to an eerily empty platform. Alex stumbled in, crashing down to one of the dirt-stained seats of the empty cart, willing the train to move, just wanting to get home. The doors remained open as the sound of smashing glass echoed and the laughter of people fast approached. The doors began to shut as a gang of thugs quickly squeezed through the doors of the adjoining cart ahead. Alex closed his eyes as he felt worse than ever, glad the group were in a separate cart, not wanting any bother, as the train churned into life, speeding down the tracks deep underneath the city above. The further he went along the dark tunnels of the subway, the worse his condition grew, feeling like his skin was burning, but stone cold to the touch. The absence of light, feeling more and more like home as the lights in the cart flickered. His body ached, the feeling of something crawling beneath his skin, festering in his body as he pulled at the skin on his arm, his head pounding in agony. The sound of the group getting closer as the doors opened, disturbing the silence of his cart as their loud, drunken laughs filtered in. Well, what do we have here?" The largest one spoke in a deep tone, as the group's eyes fixated on the state that was Alex. "Damn, what's up with you?" You must be on some drugs or some shit. What a fucking pussy. Hey, if you're gonna shoot up, make sure you can handle it. You look like fucking death. The scrawny one of the groups cackled hysterically, followed by a symphony of laughter from the others. Alex, not looking up once, just wanting to be left alone, didn't care what they had to say. The way he felt, his breathing getting heavier. Hey, my man, you hear us? We're talking to you, the larger of the three men said, now eye level with Alex, taunting him as if he was inferior to them. Look, it's rude to ignore people, asshole, he said, smirking as he began poking Alex. Alex closed his eyes, struggling to focus on anything aside from the utterly excruciating pain welling up inside of him. His organs feeling as though they were shifting around. His veins felt overcome with floods of blood erupting from his pounding heart. The sound of laughter from the thugs rattling his brain as he couldn't control what he felt. And then his eyes opened to meet with the thugs. And everything snapped. Alex screamed, lunging at the large thug, pushing him back into the others as Alex fell to the floor, convulsing in pain. The look of shock on the thugs' faces. Anger etched across the large thug's face, as if he was insulted by being touched by Alex. He began to kick at Alex as he screamed on the floor. Alex pulling at his deathly pale skin as if trying to pull it off. His muscles expanding, tearing apart as if growing and forming new muscle. His jaw cracking out of place as his teeth grew into razored fangs. The nails on his hands split open, falling off his fingers as they grew into blackened points. His back and spine cracking apart, piercing the skin as fur began to break out from the blood of his torn skin. His eyes finally opened as he roared out loud, the yellow glow piercing from his eyes, as what was once Alex stood tall, towering over the now cowering thugs as they look on in complete terror at what they were witnessing. There was a short pause before they took off, squealing like pigs down the carriage. His senses were now overloaded in a ravenous hunger and furious temper. With his vision locked onto his prey, he charged after them, catching up to them in a singular leap, tearing into the scrawny one's stomach as the black razored nails punctured through the skin, pulling out his intestines and using them as a rope as blood spattered across the windows. His screams filtered through the car as the lights flickered in and out of darkness. The screams seemingly irritated the beast, causing him to stomp on his face, crushing his skull in an instant. He then lunged after the other that had stood and just laughed without much input. He was now more a quivering mess, trembling in fear. It didn't matter to Alex. They were all the same to him now. They were prey he could feast on. He grabbed him by the throat, lifting him in the air as the nails clawed into his neck. He sunk his jaw into him as the thug's screams erupted, blood spraying through the air. The beast proceeding to rip his head from his shoulders soon after, flinging his lifeless corpse to the floor like scraps as his head rolled backwards down the carriage, landing at the feet of the only one who now remained, the largest one. Alex's new towering beastly figure walked up to him, slowly ensuring he was truly frightened. The thug had been blocked by a locked carriage door. There was nowhere for him to escape. He faced the harrowing beast, trembling, a pointing knife towards him with a trembling hand. Get the fuck back. What the fuck are you? His trembling voice squeaked. I'll stab you. Stay put. His eyes filled with unimaginable fear as what was once Alex lunged at him, tearing his tear-filled eyes from the rest of his face. The thug's harrowing screams faded as he met his gruesome end. The beast began tearing each limb off his torso one by one, layering them up in a big pile by the door as the lights continued to flicker into the darkness. The train pulling in at a station. The harrowing screams of pain and death no more. The silence filled the blood-soaked cart. From the other side, it was a quiet and eerie midnight. There was one lone onlooker waiting for a train, hoping to get home peacefully and quickly after a long night out. The onlooker watched, looking at the doors of the cart, intrigued as they noticed a red substance oozing out from under the doors, and on closer inspection, their eyes widened in absolute terror as they could see it was the sight of blood spilling from that door. "Last stop," echoed from the speakers, breaking the silence, sending the onlooker into a frightful jump. The doors to the cart slowly creaked open as the flickering light broke onto the platform. the onlookers' eyes slowly peering out to see what lay within the darkness. They froze as they saw the blood-soaked massacre inside, the mangled, lifeless bodies torn limb from limb, their feet slowly backing away, their voice lost in terror, unable to muster a single scream. The sounds of heavy breathing broke from the cart as a looming figure emerged from its lair. Suddenly breaking from the plagued cart, the onlooker finally broke from their crippling fear, falling back, screaming out all of the air stored in their lungs. The glaring yellow eyes of what were once Alex ran towards the open, doomed subway tunnel as it disappeared into the void of darkness. An almighty howl erupted from the darkness, traveling throughout the station and up into the city streets, where a full moon filled the cold night sky, high above the now cursed city. Thank you for listening to this new original. We hope you enjoyed the gruesome tale that came with some teeth, and we hope you're enjoying the terrifying content, and I can't tell you how appreciated you all are. If you liked what you heard and you haven't already, please subscribe so we can continue to bring you more terrifying content and grow the world of horror motives along with you all. Let us know in the comments what stories you'd like to hear in the upcoming videos. And until next time, let's keep growing and spreading the fear. Hit that bell, like, comment, and share. And above all, remember, fear lies within.